Hello everyone, welcome to the Ask Unique Events show. Today we are here with Covington and Company. Covington and Company. So we just want to bring in for our first guest blog, Adam and Krista, to talk a little bit about the things that they deal with on a day-to-day basis. So take it away.
Well, I deal predominantly with weddings, wedding bouquets, wedding centerpieces, and then day-to-day floral. So I guess the thing that I would like people to be aware of is that in this area, we do floral, and most of our competitors are big box stores. And I would just like, I guess, brides to be aware of what they're getting in their bouquet. It's your special day, your bouquet, a lot of times gals preserve them. It's your day, your bouquet should be something that you're really happy with. So what I will tell brides when they come in is to be aware of how much floral is in that bouquet versus how much filler. And that's always a good thing, I think, to get started. We can get pretty much any kind of flowers you want, so can big box stores, but just be aware of how much floral you are getting versus the filler.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think in terms of like a large scale, in terms of what we do, it really started out as just floral, and then it's really sort of expanded to cover all sorts of, everything you would need for an event. So whether or not it's specifically rentals or specifically flowers or encompassing, the entire scope of the project, whether that's a really huge budget or, a more petite budget, we really kind of work in all of those ranges. And I can definitely kind of agree with what Krista said in terms of, I think a lot of times, the process that we take to put into bouquets or into arrangements is a lot different than kind of what other individuals anywhere you may find. Whether it be making sure that the flowers look the best they can possibly look on the day of the wedding versus having them be really closed and look great 2 weeks later. We want to make sure that all the flowers come in, they're kind of exactly what we've talked about, in that they look fantastic, for the wedding day, but then, if you said as if they're preserved, for years to come after that.
And we don't do any packages here. Everything is custom. And so when a bride comes in, she needs to feel and she needs to know that her day is supremely distinct and it's exactly what she wanted.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I think a lot of times, when we have clients that come in, we talk about what it is that they're really looking for. And so we really kind of like begin to write down and just talk about, and then after they leave, a lot of times we can get inspiration images. And then from there, we can actually start designing out all the specific aspects of the entire event. And that way, sometimes I think it may take us a little longer on the process side, on our side of the business, but I think it's because, we don't just send out a stock list of pricing to people. We actually physically sit down and together go through, this bouquet is gonna have these components and it's gonna be at this price, these centerpieces are gonna have these components, and we really cater it to exactly what that couple wants or what that bride wants, versus just saying like, here's a standard list of what we have, just pick and choose. Because obviously that day is, one of the most important days in a couple's life, and so we really want to make sure that they're exactly, they're so happy with everything that we're doing and the products that they're getting from us.
Cool. And I guess in hearing, I don't do any of the consultations on the Covington side, but I hear Pinterest brought up quite a bit, and I guess would you like to enlighten us on a little bit of, I guess, the education that goes along with people bringing in like Pinterest photos, say of like bouquets, for instance, and showing it to, they'll show us a picture of it, we'll try to replicate it to what that is, and then if you take that, again, to another place who maybe tries to get the feel of it, but to get to a lower price point, we'll do different stuff. Like, what do you guys what do you see a lot of times in that?
Well, I like to think that once we get a Pinterest board, we have a really good kind of a springboard into what you're thinking. We can do weddings at pretty much any price point, any budget. There comes a tipping point where we can no longer achieve a certain look or a vision. But for the most part, I can't think of any weddings where we haven't been able to really come through for a bride and give her the look she's dreaming of. Having said that, sometimes Pinterest boards will come to us and I'll now
it's really interesting. I have like a love-hate relationship with Pinterest because I feel like it's fantastic. It's a fantastic tool for brides or couples or anyone, to generate ideas in terms of what they really like and what they really don't like. But I think it can also be very overwhelming because there are so many options. And sometimes I feel like if couples are, this is their first wedding or the first big event they plan, they may not necessarily know how much things cost. And so sometimes, we work with clients that will bring in images, and it could be just a ceremony, decor, and it's thousands and thousands of dollars worth of draping and chandeliers and decor and chairs and all the beautiful things. And then, but then they realistically, want to spend, $1,000 or $1,200 or $1,500 total, and they have 40 tables. And so it's kind of like figuring out how we can achieve the essence of what that picture has in something that's comfortable for them. And, I'm glad Kristen made that point because, I don't think we've worked with any clients that we haven't been able to achieve work with them on something where I think that's our job is to be more creative. And, if we can be on the same page with clients and we can agree on kind of what they want the look to be and how they want it to feel, I think our job is to come and then say, these are what we can do, or this is what we can provide you that gives you that essence at the same price point that you're really looking for.
Yeah. Yeah, that's, I know Pinterest is a huge, almost all of our brides that come in here have some sort of, Pinterest boards going on, and usually the stuff that makes it to Pinterest is the, it's the higher end thing. So
the pretty things.
I think, I'm sure something that these guys struggle with is taking that picture of the highest end thing and then making it attainable somehow, for that bride. Maybe this bride can come in and they can achieve that, they can afford the whole look and do the whole thing. But there's other times, as I mentioned, that we just, it's just working with somebody to figure out how can we make that, get that essence at your budget the best way possible. So we do a lot of, back and forth with clients a lot of times to where we, may get quoted this way, and then you may call back, come back in and say, how can, how can we get it from this price point down to this one? And then it's, working with us to figure out how, what can be adjusted to make that happen. So.
And I think all clients, even the weddings that we work on that spend, over $100,000 or whatever they spend, every client still has a budget. And looking at some pictures, you may not think that, but it's like everyone always has a budget in terms of the grand scheme of things and the entire event. Even if they do a lot of over-the-top florals or really awesome draping or whatever it may be. And I think part of my job that I enjoy the most is actually having a budget. Maybe I don't know if that's true, but but I think it's like having a budget, but then trying to accomplish what we can for that budget. For me, it's like a project or like a puzzle. It's like how can you achieve all of these amazing things and this fantastic look for this price point? Because I think a lot of the images, whether they're on our website or our Facebook page or wherever you may see them, of things that we've done, I feel like people probably look at that and think they cost significantly more than what they do cost. Because for us, it's all about finding tips and tricks to make, huge centerpieces or, beautiful linens, but doing them like in a way that best, benefit the entire group of you people, all of your guests, and making those really statement pieces, but being able to keep it within kind of a price point that clients want.
Something that I learned recently that I thought was really interesting is when you see, if you're looking floral specific on Pinterest, and you see these huge floral displays and arrangements, and they're like coastal, like say it's in California, is the cost difference of what you might find on Pinterest at some oceanside, whatever. They have these huge flower arrangements, but what the cost difference is between certain floral, say in California, versus what it costs to get that same floral here.
Yeah, which is, I think, very, very true. And I think, being in the Midwest, it's great because we have a lot of access to really anything we want. But at the same time, we don't have access to these huge flower farms like they do all up the coast of California, where it's like a lot of the, vendors there and florists, they can work directly with a wholesale company, and they can get roses for, a quarter of the price than what we pay for roses. So obviously, by the time things get here, which we're very fortunate enough to work with a fantastic vendor, to have great product, where realistically, the flowers that we get from California, they're cut on Thursday or they're cut on Wednesday. A semi from this company picks them up on Friday, and we have them fresh here on Monday. They've been in a cooler the whole time. They've always been in water. So it's interesting because it's, sometimes we'll be able to use multiple vendors if we need to for floral, and they're all really comparable. But it's interesting when you have flowers that come in and they're so fresh, how long they really last in terms of that. But yeah, there definitely is like a big cost difference. For the most part, we try and keep a lot of the flowers the same price year round, so your hydrangea, your roses, all those things really kind of remain the same, especially if they're, more seasonal things. But I think for the most part, there's a big difference in terms of
peonies.
Yeah, peonies.
Peonies. I know that's a big one.
He just knows one word. He just knows one flower, so he just has to throw that.
I even know what it looks like. I pointed it out in a magazine last night. It's to be fair.
Yeah, peonies are great, and I feel like we can always get them. I feel like there's a few months in the fall that we can't, but we get them in January and February, but they do come in like a premium when you do that because they'll come from Holland or Ecuador or somewhere where, on like a wholesale cost, they, cost, $10 or $12 a piece. And so by the time you can, make that a retail version, do all the, pricing it just gets pretty expensive,
Hopefully you guys learned something from this, and as always, like, comment, share, let us know any other, any subjects, any types of vendors you'd like to, have us sit down with and ask questions about. We'd always want to provide value for you. So until next time, thanks for checking us out.